The Big 12 can't get the college football world to universally respect it for anything. I mean, think about it. When was the last time that happened? Universal respect. Until now. Until now. And they did it through twitter.com, and it all came at the expense of one Brent Venables in Oklahoma. All right. So college football Twitter this week was just minding its own business. We're going through another week. We're about halfway through the regular season this week. And boy, did Brent Venables in Oklahoma decide to step in it. They decide to shake things up a little bit. So Brent Venables coming off of a Red River loss, feeling some heat now. Yes, Oklahoma is 5-1, but they lost to Texas, a game that I'm sure they feel like they should have won based on the way their seasons have gone so far. And now this is the schedule coming up for Oklahoma: at South Carolina, Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Bama, Mizzou, LSU. Good luck, Mr. Venables. Good luck with that. Especially if John Mateer is not going to be fully healthy. Anyway, a lot of close games being played in the SEC. There's been a lot made of that this year. In fact, I heard Josh Pate making this point. I think it's pretty salient. The SEC has turned into what people sort of fancy the Big 12 being like every game really close, decided by one possession, knockdown, drag out sort of a thing, whereas the Big 12 has turned more into like what the SEC was before, where you got like one or maybe two, if you want to consider Utah after what they did to Arizona State, teams at the top that can blow almost anybody out, and there's not quite as much of that depth as what we have seen in the past. But anyway, the question was asked. So Barry Trammell has been doing this for a long time, another guy I've got a ton of respect for, the Tulsa World. He asked Brent Venables if the SEC is a one-possession league, if the fact that the SEC is a one-possession league means Oklahoma needs to learn to win one-possession games or play better to avoid them altogether. And then as a part of that answer, Brent Venables dropped this in his quote. He said, "This isn't the old Big 12 days where Oklahoma destroys everybody every single week except one game of the year." All right, one more time. This isn't the old Big 12 days where Oklahoma destroys everybody every single week except for one game of the year. Obviously, he would be referring to Texas in that, okay? Now, let's dissect this before I get to the Big 12's response, which is the whole crux of this story. Is that true for when Brent Venables was the defensive coordinator with Bob Stoops? You can certainly make that case. Lots of people have pointed out tons of losses Oklahoma had, but they won the league like 66% of the time they were in it. It's hard to argue with that, right? The Brent Venables era, however, is much different. And that is what the Big 12 wanted to point out. Brent Venables as the head coach era was much different. So here's what the Big 12 got in its shot. And I got to say, as someone who appreciates a good tweet, a little trolling every now and then, this is well done. So Coach Venables lost 8 conference games in his 2 seasons in the Big 12. That is excellent work. You can see 31,000 people have liked that. You can see 6.3 million people have seen the tweet. And it's getting, there's Josh Pate with his trademarked assault. Robert Griffin III getting in there. It got everybody in there. Andy Staples from On3 was vehemently defending the Big 12 against Oklahoma fans when this happened. And that's really the point. Everybody in the college football world was loving up the Big 12 for this tweet, or at the very least having a nice laugh, except for Oklahoma fans, who were very sensitive about this. But Brandon Marcello, Joel Klatt, Brett McMurphy, John Wilner, lots of heavy hitters in the college football space were pointing out, hey, this is great work. And it's objectively great work. Regardless of how sensitive you may or may not be about this as an Oklahoma fan, regardless of what Brent Venables did as a defensive coordinator there, it's great work. That's welcome to twitter.com. This has been the wild thing about this reaction from OU fans. Guys, we understand. You don't have to tweet it 8,000 times in the replies. Yes, Brent Venables was a part of a lot of Oklahoma teams that did win a bunch of blowout games in the Big 12, or at the very least, just won the league a whole bunch. We understand that. We understand that that's what Brent Venables is really referring to there. But when you're going to be that guy and you're going to take a little shot, which is fine, but if you're going to do that, you got to understand it's now fair game for the Big 12 to come back and say, well, hey, that's great, but when you took over as the head man, you were literally mid, okay? As the kids would say, you were mid, literally mid. Lost 8 games, okay? That is what you do. That's how you get your shots off on Twitter. If there were a twitter.com handbook, like, hey, here's how you do it. Here's how you have fun with it. Take some little jabs, which is really what this was made for in the first place. That's teach tape film, as they would say. Teach tape film. Kept your hips right in line, swivel, got your head turned around when the ball came up, didn't touch the receiver, swatted the ball away. That's teach tape how you tweet, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. And that, man, when I tell you, I know you're rolling your eyes a little bit like, what was really the reaction to this, John? So some Oklahoma fans were like upset in the comments. No, lots of Oklahoma media members took this far too seriously, okay? I don't really know John Hoover, so I don't do this to call him out, but he was the one that I saw wrote a column that I just, frankly, I don't know how you live your life this seriously all the time, but here's what he said. But for the Big 12 Conference to seemingly try to whitewash over OU's history as a Big 12 member and suddenly act like Oklahoma football isn't really all that great. The Big 12 tried to whitewash OU's history as a Big 12 member with like 80 characters on twitter.com is a gross recollection of history at best. Okay, we're starting at a gross recollection of history and an immature potshot at worst, certainly unbefitting a statement from a Power 4 conference's official social media feed. Now, I didn't take the time to go through, and I probably should have, every Oklahoma football official account post-game tweet, because what do we see every week across college football? The official accounts of teams take little shots exactly like that. They make cute little graphics and videos that are poking fun at the opponent. And I'm quite certain Oklahoma football has done the same thing because it's Twitter, dude. It's Twitter. Like, this is not rocket science. This is not a brain surgeon popping off a joke in the middle of surgery, man. Crazy. Do I even need to say, have you seen what the Twitter accounts of our elected officials at the highest levels are popping off these days? Okay, bro, decorum. There is not decorum needed from a conference's Twitter account. Man, the SEC, all that Sankey has tweeted when all the playoff stuff was going on about the SEC last year, and they're making this push. Like, come on, man. Yeah, like Lane Kiffin, unbefitting of a head coach. No, he's on Twitter having some fun, man, because that's what we do. I didn't even finish this. The Big 12's unprompted response is unprofessional, unacademic, unappreciative, and sophomoric. Frankly, one of the many reasons that Castiglione and the Sooners have long wanted out of the league. Okay. Well, I would point out what the Big 12 did here is exactly the type of thing that the Big 12 would have never done in the old days when Oklahoma was still in the league. Before Oklahoma left the league, newsflash, the Big 12 did nothing like this because it just sat and lied down and took it whenever anybody was coming. It was a punching bag. Dan Beebe, right? Setting the tone back in those days of just being a total pushover. That would have never happened. That was not the league that Oklahoma was wanting to leave. Nothing was happening like that when Oklahoma was in the league saying, hey, that's why we wanted to leave. No, you wanted to leave because it was a league that just lied down and let itself get beat up over and over and over. Oh, by the way, they did try to expand and do something a little proactive once upon a time. Oklahoma was against it. So thanks for that. Crazy, man. Just let them have fun. And it was great. Like, this, probably should have emphasized this point more at the beginning. I just said, what was it? 6 million people saw that tweet? 6.3 million. How often does the Big 12 get that many eyeballs on anything? Not often. Not often. You get the whole college football world talking about you. And you did it. And how much did it cost you? $0. It's perfect. That's what you want. That's what you need out of your social media. You need to shake things up. That's what Brett Yormark has talked about over and over again, being a disruptor, right? That's what Tyrell Kirkham, the CMO of the Big 12, has talked about, being a disruptor. That's what you want to do. It was great. It was great. And if you could just take a chill pill and relax and enjoy a joke and say touche, Oklahoma fans and media, it'll all be okay. I promise you, it'll all be okay. All right? You're going to go play game against South Carolina. Best of luck to you, Sooners. Enjoy that schedule. I hope you're doing great. Okay? You won a lot of Big 12 games. You won a lot of Big 12 titles. Thank you for that. Nobody's erasing that out of a history book. Okay. Nobody's whitewashing anything. They just want to have a little fun on Twitter. All right. That's it. I promise. Okay. Are we okay? Is everybody okay? Just want to make sure. Chat, are we okay? Have we all recovered from the Big 12's tweet? Maybe I should have NSFW'd that. Not safe for work. Make sure you all were aware of that before I threw it out there, just so you could prepare yourselves. But I hope everybody is all right.